INT Sports presents the National Football League. Today, it's the Buffalo Bills versus the Cleveland Browns.
Getting colder as the Bills and the Browns are ready to meet in windy Cleveland Stadium for the first time since that dramatic playoff game last January. The decision is in. It's Mike Pagel, who is the Browns' starting quarterback today, as incumbent Bernie Kosar, one of the most successful in the NFL, go to the bench at least to start this game. Good afternoon, everyone. Don Crickey with Bob Trumpy. Bernie Kosar, in his 5 previous seasons at Cleveland, has led the Browns to the playoffs every year, 4 divisional titles. This could be divisive, Trump. Take him to the bench.
Don, there's no question about that, but that's why they pay the head coaches the big money. I think Bud Carson agonized all week as to what to do. I think because they're at home and because of the outcry against Bernie Kosar that he starts Mike Pagel, and of course Pagel a little more mobile, and it's totally on the shoulders of one Bud Carson as to whether or not it works.
And, of course, as you've heard, the Bud Watch is on here in Cleveland. It began early in the season. The Browns have lost 3 straight. They've lost 6 of their last 7 games. This is a team that, coming into this season, in the previous 4 seasons, won more regular season games than any team in the NFL, including the 49ers, with Kosar at quarterback. Now the Bills, while the Browns are down, are way up, and Scott Norwood's ready to kick it off to start the game. He hits the ball downfield, and here is the very fast Eric Metcalf. He'll down the ball in his end zone for a touchback, and the Browns will go on offense at their 20. Pagel comes out. There is a big contingent of Bills fans here today to follow that 6-1 team. There's the offensive line. It's been a major problem. The Browns are last in the NFL in rushing the ball. Pagel at quarterback. Metcalf, he's more of a receiver than a runner. Kevin Mack is the power back. Slaughter and Brennan, the wideouts, 2 good ones. Ozzie Newsome, the veteran tight end. And they go to the extra wide receiver formation. A first-year player, Vernon Joins, comes in. Down from their 20. Pagel to throw on first down, swings it to Mack. And Kevin Mack fumble, loses the ball, and the Bills signal they have it. We'll see if the official concurs. He does.
Well, that breaks a trend of the last several weeks that the Browns have started each series running the ball. This is the pass, but who has it?
Now they ruled that the Browns kept the ball. So at the bottom of that pile, there was some serious combat going on, and a Cleveland Brown got it back.
Looked like Kevin Mack. This is a screen. There, the ball is no doubt it's loose, and it looks like Kevin Mack is able to pull it back into his arms. He makes the fumble. He also makes the recovery.
Of the one Brown on offense who is having a good year, it's Kevin Mack, averaging 4 yards a carry. He's taken a beating. The Browns have had big problems on first down. They'll be throwing more on first down today. Now they go to the run on 2nd and 6. And Mack is thrown back by the Bills. Leon Seals is the first to get him. You look at the front 7 of the Bills: Bruce Smith, Jeff Wright, Leon Seals. This whole 7 group having a terrific year. Bennett, Conlon, Bailey, and Talley, the backers. On passing downs, Conlon and Bailey will come out. The Bills go to extra DBs in their dime package. Chris Hale and rookie James Williams come in. Regulars in the defensive secondary: Jackson and Odoms are at the corners. Smith and Hagee, the safeties. Hagee in for the injured Mark Kelso. They're down now for Cleveland. The Browns need 4. Good throw, and Brennan, normally sure-handed, can't pick it off. Ryan Brennan's got the best hands on the Cleveland team, but he couldn't make the play there. And the Browns have to punt now into a gusting wind. And punting the ball, Trump's been a big problem with Cleveland.
Yeah, Wagner has had real problems. They had 4 blocked in 3 games. And, of course, the Buffalo Bills under Marv Levy since 1986 have blocked 16 kicks.
They make it an art form. They spend as much time on that as they do on their offensive game plan. How to block kicks. Wagner steps in, hits a low punt into the wind. Chris Hale ready to field it. Now he'll let it roll. And it'll be down at about the 43-yard line.
Well, the Bills get great field position to start the game.
The conversation's all been about who's going to start at quarterback. This guy for Buffalo is having a terrific year. Jim Kelly, averaging 63% completions, Run for 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Offensive line strong. Hull's a 2-time Pro Bowler at center. Wolford and Ballard a couple of 300-pound tackles. Thurman Thomas is the man the Cleveland Browns fear most. Extra wide receivers to come in to join Lofton and Reed are Don Beebe and Don Smith. Bills have diversified their offense in recent games, doing a lot more things. Here is Thurman Thomas. Right ahead for a gain of perhaps 2 yards. Bills have not had much success in a number of years on grass fields. Front 7 for the Cleveland Browns. The best there is Michael Dean Perry, an all-pro player at tackle. He's the Refrigerator's younger brother. Baker, Pike, and Banks up front with him. Matthews, a 4-time Pro Bowl linebacker. Johnson and Grayson, the other backers. In the dime package, Tony Blaylock and Stephen Braggs come in for Cleveland. Browns are good on defense. They rank 9th in the NFL. Kelly, 2nd and 8. Loops the ball and running his all-pro receiver, Andre Reed. And he is out of bounds at the 35-yard line of the Browns.
You know, Don, last year when Buffalo came into Cleveland to play in that divisional playoff game, the Cleveland Browns expected the Buffalo Bills to run the ball. The net result, Kelly threw it like 54 times. Totally surprised the Cleveland Browns. The Browns did win. But Marv Levy told us last night, he said, hey, we didn't think we could run against Cleveland. Jim Kelly had one of his biggest days, and they got a lot of underneath stuff. Andre Reed with an underneath catch there for a first down.
Kelly threw for 405 yards and 4 touchdowns in that playoff loss to Cleveland. Jamie Mueller, behind a trap block, takes it straight ahead to the 31-yard line. First down carry, and it's a gain of about 4 yards.
We have 2 of the most disruptive defensive linemen in the NFL. Michael Dean Perry for the Cleveland Browns cheats that line of scrimmage as best he possibly can. Excellent job there by Richer, 51, Wolford, 69, just turning Michael Dean out. And of course the other big disruptive defensive lineman plays for the Bills. Number 78, Bruce Smith.
Who's having maybe as good a year as any player in the NFL, let alone any defensive lineman, Bruce Smith. 2nd down, the Bills need 6. 1 back set, and it goes to Thurman Thomas. Caught from behind by Michael Dean Perry. And it'll bring up 3rd down and about 5.
Clay Matthews was also there too. Both of them came from the backside of that, Don, to get in there and get a hold of Thurman Thomas before he could get going. If you look from the end zone, you can see that it's the counter. Watch the counter step by Thurman Thomas, and behind it, Clay Matthews and Michael Dean run it down. There's Matthews on the assist. Michael Dean catches it from behind. Very little pickup.
The Bills winners of 5 straight games as Perry goes into his 3-point. Digging in on 3rd down and 4. Kelly, cool under pressure, lofts it to Andre Reed, but he'll be cut down short of the first down.
Oh, fumble.
And a ball on the field. And where the recovery is, it might be enough for a first down. Looks like the Bills have the ball. They have a first down.
Clay Matthews on the tackle, and Reed did not catch that ball deep enough to get the first down, but avoided the initial contact. Got up the field for the pickup. It's Frank Minifield, 31. Felix Wright, 22. Andre Reed is an extraordinary player, but Matthews knocks the ball loose. Somebody dives in there in a Bills uniform and gets it. Drive stays alive.
The Bills coaches came into this game saying they've never seen their team more focused on a game. See the fumble problems the Browns have had. They've had a fumble in 14 straight games. Bills have not fumbled in their last 3 games. Not lost a fumble. Kelly on first down, over the middle again, and McKellar, tight end with wide receiver speed and hands, makes a diving reception. The middle backer Mike Johnson was astride behind him. McKellar, a former basketball player at Jacksonville State, has really come on. Caught 5 passes, 1 for a sensational touchdown against New England last week.
Don, this Buffalo offense really puts the heat on you. You got McKellar's as an outlet. When you don't throw it to Andre Reed or Thurman Thomas, then McKellar's gets down the field. Jim Kelly has great offensive weapons all around him.
Bills have lost 5 straight to the Cleveland Browns. Mueller on second down takes it inside the 15-yard line. He needed 3 and is very close to it. like to welcome those of you who've been watching the Raiders and the Chiefs at Kansas City. The Chiefs with a very big win today, beating the Raiders 9-7. So the Raiders lose only the second game this season. Kansas City will play them again later in the season. The Miami Dolphins keeping the pressure on the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins blasting Phoenix today 26-3. So the Dolphins go to 7-1. And Marv Levy's team has to keep pace with a win today to share first place.
Mr. Detail. He leaves no stone unturned in preparing his team for each opponent each week. I mean, he is a detail freak.
Well, he's a player's coach. There's no coaching controversy at Buffalo. They like Levy, and he's been a big winner this season. Divisional champion last year. Mueller, the power back from nearby Lakewood, Ohio, one of 12 children. Got a big following in the stands, and Jamie Mueller bowls ahead for a first down for the Bills.
Now, Don, once again, the Buffalo Bills on the road against a pretty good defense. Last week, New England. This week against Cleveland. At the outset of the game, taking charge. In previous weeks, they'd had that problem. They had a lot of comfort behind victories. Jim Kelly told us 2 weeks ago when we were preparing for the Bills-New England game, we got to get on them early. In the last 2 weeks, they have. This is a dominating football team, the Buffalo Bills.
And their offense has really come on. Defense has been good throughout. Handoff now goes to Thurman Thomas. And he takes it inside the 5-yard line. Dane Gash saves a touchdown, but for the moment, as the Bills now have it down close to the goal line. And we welcome those of you who've been watching the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots. The Eagles with a resounding 48-20 thumping of the hapless Patriots. Here in Cleveland, it's 0-0. Browns fail to move on their opening drive, and now the Bills are challenging for the first score of the game. Second down and goal inside the 5-yard line. Thomas leaving. He's going in. Thurman Thomas takes it down to the goal line and breaks the flame.
Gash finally makes the tackle. As you see the Buffalo Bills fans here in attendance. Someone misses a tackle. Watch 22 Felix Wright. Watch the quickness of Thurman Thomas. Get up inside of Felix Wright 22. Then it's a sprint for the corner. Gash makes contact, but the ball does break the plane of the goal line. First drive, a score for the Buffalo Bills.
Thurman's third touchdown of the season. All week long, the Browns on defense drilled on how to contain him. Norwood hits the point after, and the Buffalo Bills, here's a penalty marker down on the extra point. There's a penalty marker down. .7:45 to play in the first quarter. Buffalo with a 7-0 lead if the extra point goes. We'll check with referee Jerry Seaman.
Tripping against the Buffalo. That usually happens on the outside, the cornermen that are protecting against the kick blocker. That, I believe, is a 10-yard penalty.
Tripping. Number 50 offense will retry. 10-yard penalty.
Watch on the right side of the screen. Ray Bentley is the up back. He trips the inside guy, which is Clay Matthews. And good call. That's illegal. Minifield on the outside. Well, they try again for the extra point.
It now becomes, in effect, a 30-yard field goal. Taking it from the 20-yard line. Norwood had a bit of a slump. Came out of it last week. He's good from 30 on the extra point. And the Bills do indeed take a 7-0 lead. And Buffalo will be kicking off when we come back.
Once again, the touchdown. Here's Thane Gash, who's going to come across and make the tackle, but excellent leg strength by Thurman Thomas. He avoids 22 Felix Wright. Now, this is a good hit. Thane Gash is an excellent tackler, but Thurman Thomas able to absorb the hit, still keep his legs driving for the end zone.
Thane Gash, who stopped Thurman Thomas' try for the end zone, then couldn't the second time as Thomas goes in from 3 yards out. Bills got good field position, as you pointed out, Trump, and took advantage as they jump into a lead. 3 straight weeks they had to come from behind in the 4th quarter to win. Last 2 weeks they've dominated early now. Here comes Metcalf from the goal line. Steve Tasker throws him back, and then Dwight Green sweeps him under inside the 5-yard line.
Boy, if this isn't a secret to the Buffalo Bills' success, they do not allow.
Tasker really makes the play. Watch this.
I don't know how he gets down there all the time. Watch, he's the first one that comes into your picture there. And then he breaks down perfectly. He does not miss tackles. Metcalf gets away, but by that time, Dwight Drain there. Metcalf loses about 8 yards. Poor field position for the Browns.
Pagel and the Browns starting 95 yards from the Bills' end zone. Mack. No, it's Leroy Horde, the rookie from Michigan, who takes it across the 10-yard line. As we now check the 10-minute ticker. It's 7-0 here at Cleveland. Kansas City defeating the Raiders today on 3 field goals. San Francisco again finding a way, rallying in the second half to beat the Packers at Green Bay. Miami goes to 7-1 with a victory over Phoenix. New Orleans upsetting the Bengals at Cincinnati. Washington and Detroit now in overtime, tied at 38. Philadelphia's mentioned a winner. Here's Leroy Horde getting some work today. He's averaged only 2.8 yards a carry. They like him, Trump. A big strong back as a marker goes down. And he was a 2nd-round pick from Michigan.
Start prior to the snap. Number 66 offense. Still 2nd down.
Tony Jones, the right tackle, is a player to watch. As we see the Jets have won again, beating Dallas 24-9, and Pittsburgh, after trailing early in the game, rallies in the second half with 3 touchdowns to beat the Falcons. In a 4 o'clock game, San Diego's gone up on the Seahawks at Seattle. Bills think that Tony Jones at right tackle tips a lot of things off for the Browns. He tends to set up deeper when it's going to be a pass play. Sets up at the line when they're going to run it. He's back a little. And Pagel hands off. It goes to Leroy Horde, and the Bills read run all the way. Cornelius Bennett, the all-pro outside backer, number 97, was the first man there.
So far, this is about as quiet as I have ever heard Cleveland Municipal Stadium.
Except for that group from Buffalo in the end zone.
Yes. I think 76,000 of the 80,000 here are Cleveland fans, obviously, and it is so definitely quiet.
Metcalf and Joins are now in the game. A 1-back set. When Metcalf is flanked out, it's 90% pass for the Cleveland offense, and they're just setting up the pass now. In the shotgun. Throw and a drop. Ryan Brennan. Normally sure-handed with 2 drops early in the game. Very unlike Brian Brennan. And the Browns again, 3 downs and out, and they'll have to punt from their end zone.
And again, unless something strange happens, great field position for the Buffalo Bills. In games like this, when you're leading your division and you're 6-1, field position is a great psychological lift to you. When you're 2-6, you always seem to be starting inside your own 10-yard line.
Talk about losing teams statistically with more injuries also. No one knows why, but it's a fact. Headlines in the Cleveland morning paper today: win one for the skipper. Talking about the Browns who want to win for Carson. Here's a good punt by Wagner. Into the wind. Wind holds it.
Flag down.
Marker is down at the line of scrimmage. Another one on an illegal block as Chris Hale takes the ball back to the Cleveland 35-yard line.
Okay, now to remind everyone again, there is a new rule that if it's running into the kicker, it's just a 5-yard penalty, no guarantee of a first down. And if it's roughing the kicker, it's an automatic first down.
Good point. As Steve Tasker was telling us yesterday, their ace kick blocker, when it's 4th and long, we go for the block. And they got the kicker trying to get the block.
Jerry's got it backwards. He's got running into the kicker against the kicking team, and he's got it backwards. But still depends on whether or not it's a 5-yard penalty
or a flagrant foul.
Or a flagrant foul and a 15-yard penalty and a first down.
Game clock stopped with 5:40 to play in the first quarter. Bills leading 7-0.
And I see both the penalties here are against Buffalo.
We have running into the kicker, number 99 defense. That penalty will be declined. We had an illegal block during the returns. Number 29 receiving team, 10-yard penalty. Ball will be Buffalo's.
Hale Garner, number 99, runs into him.
And that's the inadvertent kind. And then at the other end, we have an illegal block. That's 29 for the Buffalo Bills, David Poole. So Cleveland will put Buffalo back at about the 33-yard line.
Brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We build excitement. By Liberty Mutual. For your insurance and financial service needs, America believes in Liberty Mutual. And by Coors Light, the one that won't slow you down. The Silver Bullet is the right beer now.
With Bob Trumpy, this is Don Criqui back at Cleveland Stadium, where the temperatures dropping, the winds off the lake are up. And the Bills are in the lead 7-0. Kelly methodically moved the Bills through the Browns defense on Buffalo's first possession. Thurman Thomas on the payoff down the 3-yard run. Here's a swing pass. Out of the backfield is Jamie Mueller. And he hits out to the 45-yard line. A gain of about 6 on the play. Middle backer Mike Johnson, number 59. The leading tackler for the Browns was on the stop.
Boy, Don, you see Jim Kelly so much more in control this year of this offense, you know. It used to be that he'd get flustered, but here he's looking around. Now watch how often Jim Kelly, he looks outside, he looks down the field. No, not there. All right, let's throw it to Mueller. It's as good as a 5 or 6 yard run. You make the defense do their job. That's the maturing of Jim Kelly.
Interesting contrast in the teams. The Bills have a lot of new people in their offensive line, but they've been very effective up front, unlike the Cleveland Browns, as Buffalo goes to the run on second down. And Thurman Thomas takes it out across the Bills' 45-yard line. Dave Grayson gets him at about the 47. Thurman Thomas leads the American Conference in yards from scrimmage with over 700, even though he missed almost an entire game against the Jets with a knee problem. He's averaging almost 6 yards a rush. The best second-round draft choice the Bills have ever made.
You got that
the
right.
best anybody's ever made.
Now, he had that knee injury in college, and I think people kind of backed off of him.
That was the reason.
Boy, is he a find.
Third and short. Kelly in the gun. 4 wide receivers set. Big rush, and the Browns did the job. Kelly got the ball back.
Browns taking a big chance here, coming with a blitz. Clay Matthews on the outside. Michael Dean Perry gets him from the inside. They really outmanned the offensive line of the Buffalo Bills. The Bills line didn't have enough people to block all the blitzers the Browns were bringing. There's a certain desperation in that. See, Banks 97 goes inside. Matthews outside. And Perry gets off of the left guard and is able to make the sack.
Ready to punt now for the Bills. Rick Tootin, as a penalty marker goes down. Stephon Adams, a former Raider, goes over after the ball, but there are markers down on the field. Game clock stopped with 3:36 to play in the first quarter. Buffalo continues to lead the game 7-0. Bills drafted a punter high. Hold on Cleveland.
After the ball is kicked, so the ball will, the penalty will be assessed at the point where the ball was dead.
Holding, post-possession foul, number 80 receiving team, first down.
Browns will get the ball when we come back, but they'll be deep in their own end again to start a drive.
Dan and defense. The Dolphins battle the Jets next Sunday.
Bernie Kosar, who grew up a lifelong Cleveland Brown fan in nearby Boardman, Ohio, quarterbacked Miami of Florida to a national championship over Nebraska in the '84 Orange Bowl. and has led the Browns in the last 5 years to the playoffs every season. 4 divisional titles, twice to the AFC title game. On the bench to start today, Mike Pagel, brought in to pitch for the Cleveland Browns to try to get them out of their slump. Swing pass. Here comes hard-running Leroy Horde as he goes out to the 19-yard line. Gain on the play of 5. Taken down by Cornelius Bennett.
And we've seen a couple of drop passes by the Cleveland Browns, and there is a significant difference in the velocity between these two quarterbacks. Kosar, not known as a particularly strong-arm quarterback. Pagel, on the other hand, one of the game's great guns. Sometimes it's uncontrollable, but he really rifles the football.
Big and strong, 6'2", 220. Was an outfielder on an NCAA championship baseball team at Arizona State. Kevin Mack moves the pile a little bit on second down. Tackled by Leon Seals. Again, looking at the scoreboard, Chiefs over the Raiders. 49ers win their 16th game in a row. Miami beat Phoenix. New Orleans over the Bengals at Cincinnati. Overtime game at Pontiac, Michigan. Redskins rallying to tie the Lions now in OT. Eagles blast the hapless Patriots. Jets over Dallas. Pittsburgh beat Atlanta. In the 4 o'clock games, Bears and Bucks scoreless. Oilers up on the Rams at Anaheim. 3rd and short. Mack. It'll be close.
Well, there's the problem with the significant problem with this offense is that I don't think defenses have any respect for the running game of the Cleveland Browns. None. And in Kevin Mack's case, he had no place to go there. And of course, in the NFL, you can't stand back there and throw it on every down. You'll have all of your quarterbacks in the emergency room. But again, that's 3 downs or 4 downs or 5 downs and out for the Cleveland Browns. Not what they want.
Been a lot of criticism of the Browns' personnel moves here, but somebody's done something awful right to win as many games as they have over the last 5 years. Wagner again thunders a punt up into the wind. Chris Hale at 5'7", 165 takes it back, and he's not done till he crosses midfield and gets down to the 42-yard line of Cleveland.
Again, great field position for the Buffalo Bills.
Vernon Joines was the man who came down and made the tackle for Cleveland. So if you see 1:46 to go in the first quarter, the Bills go back on offense when we return. Kick off your night on NBC and find out what you didn't know. Richard Kiley and Jane Wallace host The Story Behind the Story, followed by the critically acclaimed new series Life Stories. Then Tom Selleck, Ted Danson, and Steve Guttenberg star in the network premiere of the box office smash 3 Men and a Baby. That's tonight only on NBC. These are 2 cold weather teams. Over the years, they've played some of their best football, the Browns and the Bills, on very cold days. Great Lakes teams, and the temperature has been dropping. Kelly moved his team to a touchdown the first time they had the ball today. That's how it stands, 7-0. Late in the first quarter, 1:25 to play in it. Kelly has it slapped back at him. Markers down. Michael Dean Perry, who was the AFC Defensive Player of the Year last year, number 92 from Clemson, is a man who put the heat on again.
Not a particularly tall player is Michael Dean Perry, but able to get his hand up. We've got
Might have left early, though.
Yeah, we've got the penalty on Cleveland. He is offsides. If you look at Kent Hall,
number 92 defense, still first down.
the center for Buffalo, Kent Hall, puts the ball right underneath his head. Now, on a center where he puts the ball way out, Michael Dean really cheats the line of scrimmage. But you can see that, I mean, he tries to get through that gap, but he's just premature.
So the Bills now have an interesting play call, 1st and 5, and Kelly goes to the run. Thurman Thomas at 5'10", 200 pounds takes it into the Browns defense to the 38-yard line. It's interesting, Trump. We talked to Coach Marv Levy yesterday. He's talking about the Bills were very interested in drafting Michael Dean Perry, but Perry told him, "I don't want to be a nose tackle." So he plays in a 4-man front at Cleveland, and they tell him he's not a nose tackle, but we know better, and he's a real good one.
Oh yes, he is. One of the most disruptive defensive tackles I think this game has ever seen. You can't account for a quick tackle like that in your offense, because before your offensive lineman can get out of their stance, he's in the backfield.
Great guy to have in your team, a real up leader type of individual, as the handoff goes straight ahead, and the power back. Jamie Mueller on 2nd and short gets a first down for the Bills. You'll remember that sensational game these two teams played last January, the divisional playoff game in the cold of Cleveland Stadium. Went back and forth. It was like a highlight reel. And finally, Bud Carson and the Browns won it 34-30.
Don, I did notice that the last series, the Buffalo Bills are getting a matchup they're going to like and try eventually here. That's Thurman Thomas flanked out. And the last time they did that, Dave Grayson, the linebacker, was on him. That's something that Buffalo loves to see, a linebacker on Thurman Thomas.
Browns absolutely say Thomas is almost unstoppable because he can do so many things well. That time they get him on a short yardage carry. He got ahead for about 3 yards. And that'll do it for the first quarter of play. Time runs out and Buffalo wins the first 15 minutes 7-0. And the Bills are driving when we come back to open the second quarter at sold-out Cleveland Stadium. Bernie Kosar, the normal starter for the Browns, who was benched today for Mike Pagel, has been warming up during this past timeout and talking to quarterback coach Zeke Bratkowski. Looks like he might come in from.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick hook for Mike Pagel, but Pagel's not, and the Browns are not producing anything offensively. But frankly, I think that's more field position.
Bills with a 7-0 lead to open the second quarter. Heading towards the open end of Cleveland Stadium, and folks in the pound are kicking up, making it tough on Kelly to call numbers. Throw to Thurman Thomas. Brilliantly executed play as Thomas had a step on the all-pro outside backer Clay Matthews and made the grab for a first down.
Yeah, Don, there's the matchup that Buffalo will be looking for all day. Watch what happens here, Don. From a normal set, there's just one back. Here's Thomas. Here's Matthews. The pattern is the out pattern, and this is exactly what Buffalo wants throughout the league. Run Thurman Thomas on any linebacker. He'll beat him and catch the ball.
Redskins have just beaten Detroit in overtime, rallying from 17 points down in regulation to win by 3. Thurman Thomas on first down. Down to the 13-yard line. Gain of 5 yards on the play. Felix Wright, the strong safety, got him.
And a significant part of this game, look at where they've started. Their own 20, their own 5, and their own 13. 9 plays. No first downs. And that is bad news for the Cleveland Browns. An offense that suffered. And then on the other hand, of course, the Bills, their own 43, their own 39, and the Cleveland 42.
Bud Carson is saying the thing that impresses him about Kelly, he's releasing the ball so much quicker this season. Making his decision, getting rid of it like that. And he's got Andre Reed down to the 6-yard line. So the Bills are ahead for a first down.
Kelly got hit.
Left arm. Hey, this guy's as tough as a boot. Somebody had to get him good for him to show pain.
An old boot at that. Let's see who gets him. If Clay Matthews comes on the blitz outside, no. It looks like Bubba Baker who gets him. I don't see anything significant there injury-wise, but Kelly is going to the sideline. He may have just hit his crazy bone in his elbow, which just gives you that stinging sensation. Yeah, they're rubbing his elbow. I think he just hit his crazy bone. He's all right.
Eddie Abramowski, the longtime trainer, giving him a rub down. Looks like he's ready to go when we come back.
Just in Jim Kelly's hand here. Frank Reich making sure Kelly can take the snap. Looked like he hit his elbow on the face mask of Bubba Baker. He's back in the huddle and okay. That was his left arm.
So the dog pound starts a barking, and Kelly aligns his team. First down and goal at the 7-yard line as the left side of the Bills line left early. Tackles Will Wolford and Howard Ballard for the Bills. The guards are Jim Ritzer and John Davis, and the center, two-time Pro Bowler Kent Hull.
Yeah, the problem with the play like that, it gives away your #1 choice in the scoring zone. You always run your first play, the one you like the best, and it gave it away, and it looked like a pass to me. McKellar's the tight end, fired off the line of scrimmage. He may have been the guy that moved, but well, you hate to see that if you're Ted Marchibroda or Marv Levy, because that's your #1 choice.
Kelly started the day as the #2 ranked passer in the American Conference behind Jay Schrader of the Raiders. Kelly with a 92 rating.
False start
63%
prior to the snap.
completion.
Left guard offense. Still first down.
They got Jim Richard, who's having another outstanding year for moving early. He's got a full load on his nose today, and Michael Dean Perry. Bills continue to lead the game 7-0 after they stopped the Browns on the opening drive on 3 plays, took a punt, and went 57 yards. We have Thurman Thomas scoring on a 3-yard sweep. Now the Bills go first and goal from the 12-yard line. Thomas starting in, heading in. Nobody laid the glove on him.
Oh, did they blow him off the line of scrimmage? Goodness.
Funny, Richard was telling us yesterday, Trump, he loves to have him run on his side, he and Wolford.
This is the counter series. Look at this. Nobody touches anybody. Ballard puts Dane Gash on his back. Beautifully executed from him.
Watch the right guard Davis come across with his trap. He just kicks out and flattens Raymond Claiborne.
Oh, did you see Ballard on Gash? That's a highlight reel right there, that one play.
So the Bills, with textbook execution now, with the extra point, extend their lead to 14-0. The Bills and their fans conservatively thinking Super Bowl, and with good reason.
BC Sports coverage of the National Football League is brought to you by Acura Automobiles. Experience precision-crafted performance. By the U.S. Army. Learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And by America's favorite light beer, Miller Lite, the sole sponsor of the NFL Player of the Year Award.
The visage of head coach Bud Carson reflecting how this day has gone, as so many have had for this season for the Browns.
Oh,
the Bills taking it right through Cleveland for a second touchdown of the day by Thurman Thomas. Norwood now kicks off for the Bills into the win. It's a high spinner, carries short. Stephon Adams on the run at his 29. And he'll cross the 32-yard line. And there the Browns go on offense again.
And on that touchdown run, when the coaches put it up on the chalkboard as Pagel comes in, it doesn't work this good. Here's the strong side. They block down. Thurman Thomas takes that little jab step, allows the guard and the tackle to get out in front of it, and then watch the job Davis and Ballard do. Watch this block and watch what happens to Thane Gash. Absolutely cream him. He runs it in untouched for a score.
Blocking par excellence takes Thurman Thomas into the end zone a second time. Pagel's still in there. Both are warmed up, but he's still on the sideline as Pagel looks to gun it on first down. Out pattern, he makes the connection. Eric Metcalf makes the reception. Now while we have a moment, let's go to NFL Live and Bob Costas. Bob?
From Cleveland to Cleveland, Gary of the Rams. This one-yard run has tied the ball game up with the Oilers in Anaheim. They're even at 10. Earlier, Warren Moon hurled a 40-yarder to Drew Hill, his 19th TD pass of the year, tying him for the moment with Joe Montana, whose day's work is done after throwing 3 at Green Bay. Don?
Good one going at Anaheim, and now we have the Cleveland Browns with second down and 4 coming up. They go to the run, and Kevin Mack, a big back with speed, takes it to the outside and bounces ahead for a first down. Shane Conlon and Kirby Jackson finally got him.
That's Cleveland's first down. Took them 4 series to get their first down. And frankly, Kevin Mack had to break a clean tackle to pick it up.
All his teammates raving about his performance this year. Kosar said yesterday you can't give him enough credit. He haven't won, so nobody's noticed, but he's played terrific football. Eric Metcalf has not been getting the yards from scrimmage. He's averaging only 1.5 yards a rush. Last year, Eric Metcalf scored 10 touchdowns. This year, he scored none so far as we check the Xerox 10-minute ticker. Washington, Detroit now final as the Redskins win on a field goal in overtime. Bears up on the Bucks at Tampa Bay. As mentioned, Houston and the Rams are tied. San Diego is now up 14-7 at Seattle. And the Browns are down 14-0 here at Cleveland. Pagel, hard throw and a connection. as he gets the ball over the middle, and taking it down is the veteran Ozzie Newsome to the 32-yard line of Buffalo.
Browns that time spread. Eric Metcalf out as a wide receiver. Cornelius Bennett went with him in coverage. You see he runs the go pattern. Pagel takes the choice of throwing to Newsome inside. Metcalf wants the ball. Quietly go back to the huddle. Tell the quarterback or the quarterback coach, I'm open on that play. Newsome makes his first catch of the day.
Now the Browns, with their best offense of the day, have it 1st and 10. The 33-yard line. Mack, who is a knockout runner. He's knocked 3 defensive backs out of the game this season when they've taken him on. This time, as he tries to go wide, the Bills come over and knock him down.
Looked like Bruce Smith along with Bentley out there to make the tackle. Again, though, very few options for Kevin Mack to run. He had to bounce that run to the outside. He is one tough cookie, Kevin Mack.
From Clemson. Played his first 2 years in the U.S. Football League with the L.A. Express. Pagel, a tip ball. It's up for grabs, and John Hagee couldn't make the interception. The free safety, John Hagee, had a play on the ball. It goes as an incomplete pass, and 3rd down comes up for Cleveland. 3rd and over 10.
Again, Eric Metcalf, that time coming in motion, was wide open on the sideline. Pagel chose to go to the tight end. The ball was tipped. Very lucky it was not intercepted. And Bud Carson on the sideline. A tough couple of weeks for Bud Carson.
He was saying yesterday, Trump, he thinks this is the best Bills team he's ever seen. He's coached against them with various teams over the years.
And they are playing like champions.
They came of age, really, in that series against Denver, then the Raiders and the Jets, rallying 3 straight weeks to win in the 4th quarter. Last week they dominated New England. Pagel with an open man. Brian Brennan makes a diving catch. It's good inside the 10-yard line.
First chance the Browns fans have had to cheer, and this is an outstanding catch by Brian Brennan. Right on the fingertips, a 26-yard completion. Pagel to Brennan. Herbie Jackson in coverage. 1st down Cleveland. Obviously their best drive so far.
The sure-handed one from Boston College, who had 2 drops early in the game. He probably hasn't done that in consecutive passes since he's been in grammar school. Then he makes the sensational play, and the Browns in position to get back in the game. Pagel wants a timeout. So Mike Pagel comes to the sidelines for some counsel with 9:32 to play in the first half. The Browns challenging the Bills in the lead. Bob Trump, it could be a critical point in this game for the Browns, Trump. If they don't take it in here, they might be out.
Yeah, a very significant drive, and it's been well orchestrated by Jim Schaffner and Mike Pagel. Big catch by Brian Brennan. So now a little confidence on the side of the Cleveland Browns offense. When they get down here, though, you got to run the football, and that's what Cleveland has had great trouble doing. This is where you want to fire Kevin Mack up through there.
Browns last in rushing. Bill Walsh, a strong proponent. You have to run it on short yardage and goal line. They try the pass, and it's knocked away by Bentley. Still hasn't lost anything off his fastball, Mike Pagel, but Bentley got a hand in and slapped it back. Number 50.
Right down the middle, Pagel tries to go. Ray Bentley, the middle linebacker. Excellent coverage on the Wizard, Ozzie Newsome. And I wouldn't be surprised here if you try to get a screen somehow to Eric Metcalf.
I told Ozzie yesterday he's going to play longer than Gordie Howe. He said, that's something to think about. Ozzie is now in his 13th year from Alabama. Pagel, a slant pattern, touchdown Cleveland. Webster Slaughter.
Flag.
Markers down.
Buffalo is saying it's against Cleveland.
Whoa. Absolutely laser sharp throw and catch, but it's negated on a foul on the offense.
pass interference. Number 82 offense. Still second down.
Well, they call it on Ozzie Newsome. Well, that's the way it's gone for the Browns. They finally get one in and a penalty.
Second down comes up now for Cleveland at the 18-yard line. So far, they've done a pretty good job on Bruce Smith. Nobody else has this season. Here is Pagel, another fastball. That's too low for Brian Brennan. Uncatchable.
Four wide receiver set. Mike Pagel had time. There's Zeke Bradkowski, the quarterback coach. He's signaling the play in from Jim Schaffner.
Trumpy, a former skilled catcher of the ball. You couldn't get this one, though, could you?
Now, that's tough. When that ball sinks down at your feet, that's a very difficult catch to make. And Brennan just couldn't get down there to get his hands on it.
So now third down comes up as Pagel aligns in the shotgun. 3rd and goal from the 18. Brennan can't run under it. 4th down, and the kicking team comes out. So the Browns had a touchdown and lost it on a penalty, and now they'll try a field goal. Try to get on the board with 9:14 to play in the first half.
Now, you mentioned we hadn't heard much from Bruce Smith. He was in there that time right on the chest of Mike Pagel. He's on Paul Farron's 74. But you can see 65. Tam is also helping Bruce Smith there to bother the knees of the quarterback. Makes the quarterback think the next time. Corrick on for the kick here.
Corrick was an all-pro kicker in the Canadian Football League last season. He's 8 of 10 on field goals this year. He's blocked. Live ball, and John Hagee is on the run. He's across the 40.
That is the 17th block kick by the Buffalo Bills since Marv Levy became a head coach and Bruce DeHaven became the special teams coach.
And that critically important challenge of the Browns is thrown back at them. A touchdown negated on a penalty, then the field goal blocked, and the Bills have the ball in a 14-0 lead.
Now, Corrick does kick the ball low. Snap is not bad, a little high, but there's not much pressure up front. They just get their hands up.
Looked like Shane Conlon might have got it.
And
58.
The snap was a little high, and Pagel had trouble getting it down, and there's the block.
So the Bills, who are among the best, they say Albert Lewis of Kansas City, he got one today against the Raiders, might be the best. But here's a handoff to Thurman Thomas, and the Browns defense reading 34 from the snap. Gets him for only a gain of a yard.
This year, as a matter of fact, when they look back at this season, that blocked field goal against Denver, when Buffalo then scored 21 points in 77 seconds, turned around the season for the Buffalo Bills. They were losing to Denver, being pushed all over the field. And that block kick by Nate Odom, picked up by Cornelius Bennett. And they're in business from there.
In business with a 2nd and 9. The Bills use the stopwatch. They break everything down to hundredths of seconds. Field goal try isn't away in 1.32. They think they can get it. 1.32 seconds. Here's a marker in as the ball is caught by Andre Reed. Andre Reed running in the open field, turns the corner. He has a blocker. And we'll see if there's an illegal block before he cut back.
Now, I think that's going to be on the Buffalo Bills. It looked to me like James Lofton was running a screen for Andre Reed. You see James Lofton, 80 there? He's lobbying. Let's see if we can pick up what happens. Lofton is on the outside. He gets by Minifield. Raymond Claiborne had a hold of the jersey of Andre Reed here too, but it looks like the call is going to be against Buffalo. I think they're going to call this on 80.
Use of hands. Number 80 offense. Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 30 defense. Offsetting penalties. Replay the down.
Boy, is that a break for Buffalo. Dang gash. Unnecessary roughness at the end of the play. Boy, oh boy. Here's the end of the run. There's Mike Johnson. And Thane Gash gives him a little shove, and the flag goes down.
I mean, you wouldn't send a guy to the chair for that, though, would you? Patted him on the butt. It's 2nd down and 9 now. Offsetting penalties. 7:34 to play first half. Bills with a 14-0 lead. Kelly with a problem. He gets it away. And if an even bigger problem is Andre Reed as the loss is all the way back to the 24.
Boy, they blow that one up. Clay Matthews comes on the blitz. And it looks like it's going to be a reverse or a reverse pass. Watch how long Kelly has this ball. He fakes to Mueller. There's Clay Matthews. The lateral to Reed. And Rob Burnett there to make the tackle. That's a nice loss of about 12 or 13 yards. Let's not call that play again.
Now the Bills going from some of the best execution we've seen all season to some bad news Bears football. They're set all the way back now to their 26-yard line. 3rd down and 24. Kelly will let it rip. He likes Lofton deep a lot. Now he goes to the run. And the Browns stay home. Defending nicely is Rob Burnett, rookie from Syracuse, who they expect big things from.
Now, Don, with the way this game is going and to change people's mind, you almost have to go for a punt block here. Try to get your offense decent field position. Anything to put a little spark in the offense here for Cleveland.
Now the Bills ready to punt the ball. There is Rick Tootin. You see his first of the day was 37 yards. Don Adams, a very fast return man, is back. Low kick. He should run it back if he can get it on the 1 or 2 hops, but he cannot. Bills down so quickly under the punted ball. So the Browns, who challenged their last possession and were thrown back, now start again from their 40. Old Glory straight out. Just beyond those flags is the vast expanse of Lake Erie, and the soon-to-be winter winds are starting to whip down from Canada as the Cleveland Browns down 14-0 work here in the second quarter, wind at their back. 1st and 10. Throwing a catch out to the 47-yard line. Ozzie Newsome with his second grab of the day. His 11th of the season.
Well, again, the Browns are trying to trick Buffalo here a little bit. They're running Metcalf out of the backfield. That's drawing Cornelius Bennett out there, and then Ozzie Newsome catches the pass up underneath. That's something they can go back to now.
Bills' only loss this season was a 30-7 drubbing at the hands of the Dolphins at Joe Robbie Stadium. Buffalo's been winning every week just to keep pace with Miami. Dolphins' only loss was to the Giants. Dolphins winning day at 7-1 as Kevin Mack takes tacklers with him. And on 2nd and 3, he goes ahead for 10 yards and a first down. Let's go back now to NFL Live. Bob?
Don, this play caps the biggest comeback in the league so far. Overtime at the Silverdome, and Chip Lohmiller connects from 34 yards out. The Redskins beat the Lions 41-38 after trailing with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter by 3 touchdowns. They were down 35-14. Jeff Rutledge came off the bench, led the big comeback. Washington's 5-3.
We're back to live action. Thank you, Bob, as Pagel now hands the ball off. Kevin Mack trying to straight arm tacklers. Shane Conlon runs him down on a first down carry.
That catch by Ozzie Newsome just moved him up to 4th on the all-time list of receivers. The all-time leading tight end receiver in the history of the NFL. It's a nice group.
Hall of Fame names. James Lofton of the Bills is number 8 all-time. Lofton, who came here as a complete free agent to Buffalo, has had a sensational season, averaging over 21 yards a catch. On 2nd and long, they go to Metcalf. He does a dance, but can't lose the tacklers. Does get down to the 35-yard line. And it'll be 3rd and 3 from there. Alton Bailey, inside backer, got him. 54.
Boy, will that keep your defense honest. You get a young man like that with his foot speed out there loose in the flat. This looks like it's designed to go to Metcalf. He's sitting right back here, and all it is a little swing pass, and you hope all the pursuit gets caught up in the wash. You see 82 kind of seals off Carlton Bailey. 54. Let's pick up Cleveland Browns.
See, the Browns need 3 on 3rd down. Quick timing pattern is caught by Webster. Slaughter, he's inside the 20. Down to the 16-yard line. First down, Cleveland.
Chris Hale makes the tackle. An all-pro move by Webster Slaughter. Last year, of course, Slaughter almost 1,200 yards receiving. And the more you can get him involved in your offense, the better chances you have of winning.
Browns now go from a spread formation. They throw 90% of the time on first down out of this. This time they go to the run. And it is the fullback, Kevin Mack. The Bills coaches pointing out 90% of the time on first down. If Eric Metcalf is flanked, they'll throw the ball. They change it up, go to Mack on first down, and he gets 5. Kevin Mack missed 13 games last season. Best year is his first as a Cleveland Brown. He rushed for 1,100 yards. We're down to the 2-minute warning. Now, Coach Levy sees his defense challenged again, but still no points for Cleveland. Back at Cleveland, Coach Bud Carson looking for points. He thought his team had a touchdown his last possession. Indeed, they had a reception in the end zone by Slaughter, but it was negated by a penalty. And Coach Levy's Buffalo Bills are still throwing a shutout, 14-0. It's now 2nd down and 5 for Cleveland. Wind really kicking up, but both quarterbacks passing well. In fact, Kelly 6 for 6. Pagel 8 for 14. Mack struggling up the middle. Inside the 10-yard line. Leon Seals, 96, was the first tackler.
Again, the Browns go with the spread offense and try to run the trap up through the middle. And Mack has very few options. And it's well handled by the Buffalo defense. Everyone stands their ground. To spread everybody and try to run it right up the middle. Excellent job by Leon Seals staying at home.
Spread formation on 3rd and 3. Pagel on a sprint out, running out of time into the end zone. Brian Brennan can't make the play. Too much on the ball. And the Browns have to go to the field goal try again.
Don, that was intended to be a shovel pass. Buffalo, he was going to shovel that ball to Kevin Mack right up in front of him. But Bruce Smith was right there to disrupt the whole thing. Watch what happens. If Bruce Smith stays right there, there's Kevin Mack. He's tackled by the nose tackle, Jeff Wright. Pagel has nobody to throw it to, so he tries to get Brennan in the end zone.
Too much on it. You see Brian Brennan go way up.
Look, there's not even a designed pass pattern in that play. That's a shovel pass all the way.
Correct. Bad.
Whoa!
So the Browns misfire again. And the Bills take over at the Cleveland 32-yard line. Bud Carson talking about we find new ways to lose every week.
The snapper is a new acquisition for the Cleveland Browns, Mike Morris, and he puts it right over Pagel's head. Now, last week, Cam replaced Morris because he snaps it so hard. Well, this one goes right over Pagel's head. That's totally on the snapper. And a field goal blocked. And a field goal gone awry. Watch Pagel. Nothing he can do. The best thing to do is just get on the ball and make sure that the Buffalo Bills don't pick it up.
Kelly over the middle to Thurman Thomas. And the zone defense of Cleveland hems him in. Makes the knockdown at the 38-yard line. Bills will align without a huddle now as the game clock is down inside a minute to play in the first half. 56 seconds to play. Kelly on 2nd and 4. Takes what the defense gives him, and Thurman Thomas gets a first down to the 45. And the Bills let it keep running.
They've got 2 timeouts left.
35 seconds and running. Kelly an over the middle throw, and he's got his man, Andre Reed, all the way down to the 30-yard line. And the Bills call a timeout.
The defense is kind of coming apart here in this rush by Buffalo.
That is their second timeout. That'll be a 40-second timeout.
Bernie Kosar continues to warm up, maybe just to keep warm.
Well, I'm kind of surprised to see the Buffalo Bills just kind of go through this defense like this. It looked like it was a very lax coverage. That was a 25-yard completion. Kelly to Andre Reed happens on the right, on the left-hand side of the screen, and he's right underneath the deep coverage and above the linebacker coverage. Watch how much room Andre Reed has when this ball is thrown to him. Oh, there's a bunch of room there. Rick Claiborne makes the first contact, but even though there's not much time left in the half, you got to have tighter coverage than that.
Our producer today for NBC Sports is Glenn Adamo. Director John McDonough. The executive producer of NBC Sports is Terry O'Neill. We're at sold-out Cleveland Stadium every year. The Bills and the Browns vie for the NFL leadership in attendance. The Bills lead this year, averaging just under 80,000 a game. Almost 80,000 here today, as Kelly on a 1st and 10 with 25 seconds to play in the half. Fastball, and Andre Reed makes the play at the 24-yard line.
Browns that time had 7 defensive backs in the ball game. Bills will try to get another playoff here. Just throw the ball down and stop the clock.
That's legal. So Kelly stops the clock with 8 seconds. It'll be a long field goal try. And the difficulty level is raised because they're going into the wind. Wind swirls here, but it's no different than where the Bills play their home games in Orchard Park, New York. Gusting, swirling winds. Virtually every game they play there is in wind.
Cleveland, first half, been very generous for the Buffalo Bills. Blocked field goal, missed field goal attempt.
Browns have moved the ball, but when they've gotten down close, it's all come apart. Norwood, a 43-yard field goal. Frank Reich is the holder. No good. That one never had a chance, so the Bills missed that opportunity, but they still hold to a 14-0 lead, looking to extend their win streak to 6 in a row. At halftime, we'll be going to NFL Live to Bob Costas, Will McDonough, and O.J. Simpson. Remember O.J. talking about the first game he ever played was here at Cleveland Stadium against the Chicago Bears, if you can believe that. And Dick Butkus was out
the Bears?
Against the Bears. Was one of those doubleheaders, the preseason doubleheaders they used to have.
How was that experience?
Well, O.J. wasn't thrilled to have Butkus hunting him down out of bounds, I know.
Neither was anybody else when Butkus played.
You went to college with him.
Yeah, everybody looked for the sideline, even in practice.
Now the Browns run it out. That'll conclude play in the first half. So the boos cascade down. Boos that make the players feel bad and disturb those who've dozed off. But Buffalo hasn't put anybody to sleep as Marv Levy's team has jumped out to a 14-0 lead. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Bob Costas back at halftime with O.J. Simpson and Will McDonough. The talk of the AFC right now would have to be the Miami Dolphins. They're doing it with defense. They ran their record to 7-1. And if the season were to end right now, they would have the best record in the AFC by virtue of the tiebreaker, because even if Buffalo beats Cleveland, both those teams would be 7-1, and Miami defeated Buffalo earlier this year.
Well, Miami's is tough. You know, for years we've been seeing them at the top of the rankings on offense with Marino throwing the football, but now it's defense, and mainly because of the acquisition of Tim McKyer at corner, and they have J.B. Brown at the other corner, and those guys are able to play man coverage. It frees up the safeties. They help with the running game, and they're just playing super defense, and that's why they're at the top of the heap right now. And defense wins championships.
Raiders didn't keep pace today. They fall to 6-2, losing at Kansas City.
Yeah, the big thing in that game was both sides were dropping the ball all over the place. I think a lot of it had to do with the bad weather out there, but you got to give Kansas City credit. On the ground, they were stopped in the first half. They only had 22 yards rushing, but then when they had to hold on to the lead in the second game, they rushed for 103 yards in the second half, and that's why they won the game.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights of Miami's victory over Phoenix by a score of 23-3. Don Shula's new no-names lead the NFL now statistically in defense, and they hold Phoenix just an Al Del Greco field goal today.
Play
Now, Dan Marino is no longer racking up the spectacular numbers, but he's quietly efficient. Throws to Tony Page for a 17-yard touchdown. Now the defense does it in the second quarter. Tim Rosenbaugh to throw for Phoenix. Former Cardinal E.J. Jr. strips him of the ball. Jeff Cross recovers it. It leads to a Pete Stoyanovich field goal and a 10-0 Miami lead. On to the third quarter as they lengthen it to 20-3. Mark Clayton on the slant pattern latches on to the 7-yarder from Marino. 2 TD passes on the day for Dan. 23-3 Miami. And next week, OJ, you'll be here on the pregame show with a look at what we're calling the new no-names, the 1990 Miami defense.
Well, they got a couple of guys there, you know. Offerdahl, he's playing uninjured for a change, playing Super Bowl, and a kid that showed up last year, Jeff Cross, he's got about 9 or 10 sacks. And once again, those cornerbacks are playing some Super Bowl for him. We know they have 2 young, excellent safeties, and Williams and Lewis Oliver. So it's an excellent football team, excellent defensive football team. They're young, they're aggressive, and once again, they say offense sells tickets and defense wins championships.
They go against the Jets at the Meadowlands next week. The schedule is fairly favorable for Miami the rest of the way.
Yeah, it is, and they're particularly tough and have been historically late in the year playing in the Orange Bowl. I mean, it's always been a breakdown there when you get teams coming out of the north to go down there and play in December. But next week's in the Meadowlands, and the Jets have played very well the last 2 weeks. They're the champions of Texas, beating Houston and Dallas in back-to-back Sundays.
Assuming Buffalo continues to play well, the game people will begin to point toward will be the matchup in Week 16 at Buffalo, Miami and the Bills.
That's right. Now, you got to remember, in Miami, Miami handled them easily, and that's when we were on here and everybody was talking about the Bills upset after the game. There was dissension. Ever since that ball game, Buffalo's played terrific.
All right, Will, OJ, sit tight. We'll get back to you eventually, and we'll clear out of here for just a moment as the NFL on NBC continues.
This is Don Criqui with Bob Trumpy back at sold-out Cleveland Stadium, where Thurman Thomas, the Bills' Pro Bowl runner, has been in the end zone twice in the first half. Cleveland's misfired a couple of times. They would have tied the game and been able to get it in down close. But the Bills hold a 14-0 lead. Now we go to Bob Costas at NFL Live. Bob?
All right, Don, thanks very much. We'll hear from Will and OJ in just a moment. But first, a recap of the scores, beginning with the games that started at 1 o'clock Eastern Time earlier today at Arrowhead Stadium. Bo Jackson's return to Kansas City, this time as the enemy. The Chiefs' special teams continue to excel. Kevin Porter with the block, 5th blocked punt of the year for KC, led to one of 3 Nick Lowry field goals. They win 9-7. The 49ers, Roger Craig, back after missing the last 3 games, only games he's ever missed in his career. At Green Bay, Joe Montana with his 3rd touchdown pass of the day. 19 for the season, hitting Brent Jones with this one. San Francisco down 10 at 1 point wins, 24-20. Don Shula and his Dolphins are #1 statistically in NFL team defense. Dan Marino, quietly efficient this year, no longer as spectacular as he once was. Tony Page latches on to one of Marino's 2 touchdown passes. They shut Phoenix down. Sam Weish back home after a 5-game road trip, but bad news for him at Riverfront. That's Ironhead Hayward in for the touchdown, and the Saints upset the Bengals in Cincy, 21-7. Buddy Ryan's Eagles to the 500 mark for the first time this year at 4-4 on a day that belonged to Randall Cunningham. He threw for 4 touchdowns, including this one to the great tight end Keith Jackson. Cunningham also carried the ball 8 times for 124 yards, a 100-yard rushing game for the quarterback. Eagles win 48-20 over the hapless Patriots. Jimmy Johnson couldn't have been smiling after this play. Here he is barking out some instructions at his team. And here is a record-tying punt return by Terrence Mathis, a Jet rookie out of New Mexico. 98 yards he goes, the 4th time in league history that a punt has been brought back 98 yards, top figure ever, and it helps the Jets to a 24-9 win over the Cowboys. 2 head coaches who have a history of bad blood, obviously. Atlanta's Jerry Glanville, Pittsburgh's Chuck Noll. 3 Greg Davis field goals gave Glanville an early 9-0 lead, but Pittsburgh comes back with Bubby Brister throwing for 2 scores, including this one in the second half to Mike Mularkey covering 19 yards. Pittsburgh now ties Cincinnati at 5-4 for the lead in the AFC Central. Now, the wildest game of the day had to be at the Silverdome, where Washington staged the biggest comeback of the season so far in the NFL. They were down 35-14, 3 touchdowns down with 10 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. At that point, they yanked Stan Humphries. In came Jeff Rutledge, and here's what Rutledge did in less than a half. He completed 30 of 42 for 363 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for a touchdown with 18 seconds to go on a quarterback draw from 12 yards out. That tied it, and Chip Lohmiller's 34-yard field goal won it in overtime. The Redskins 41 and the Lions 38. Now, games in progress. Buffalo on a pair of Thurman Thomas touchdown runs, leading at Cleveland at halftime 14-0. Buffalo trying to keep pace with Miami atop the AFC East as they try to go to 7-1. Cleveland started Mike Pagel at quarterback. He hasn't generated anything thus far for the 2-6 Browns. Chicago with a 17-0 halftime lead at Tampa Bay. The Bears trying to win for the 7th time in 8 starts. Brad Muster and Neil Anderson have scoring runs. 17-0 in favor of the Bears. They've intercepted Vinny Testaverde 3 times in the first half. The Rams have the halftime lead over Houston. The score there is 17-10. Jim Everett's 15th TD pass of the year, a 2-yarder to Damone Johnson, is the difference. Earlier, Warren Moon, 40 yards to Drew Hill. 19th touchdown throw of the year for Moon. For the moment, he is tied with Joe Montana for the league lead. And San Diego has the lead at Seattle, 14-7. They've just gone to halftime at the Kingdome. A pair of Billy Joe Tolliver touchdown passes, one to Ronnie Harmon, then a 45-yarder to Quinn Early. The difference there, San Diego by a touchdown. Juice, how about those Dolphins?
I tell you what, the big story in the league is the Dolphin defense. And, you know, last year we saw them begin to emerge with those 2 fine safeties, Jarvis Williams and Lewis Oliver, and Jeff Cross is one of the finest pass rushers in the league. And you got a healthy John Offerdahl and Hugh Williams. They're happy, 2 older guys. They're all pro caliber players. But the keys to this defense are the play of their 2 cornerbacks. Tim McKyer, they got him from the 49ers, and J.B. Brown, second-year man. This allows the Miami defense to play man-to-man. They can take those wide receivers out of the game, bring those safeties up to the line of scrimmage, and help with the run. And that's why they're at the very top of the heap defensively in the league.
More on that as O.J. features the Dolphin defense next week on the pregame show. And we're back after this from your local stations.
He's cheated his wife.
I am broke. I'm busted.
Owes his bookie.
Where's my money?
And thinks he's gonna die.
How long have I got?
So he double-crossed the mob.
Are you crazy?
Then a medical miracle saves his life. A life story like you've never seen. Tonight at 8 on NBC.
Our team is now your new team at 6. Join Don Postles and Lori Lasowski Monday.
Back at Cleveland before the game, Kosar and Pagel had a handshake of sorts after it was announced that Pagel would be the starter. Bernie had started over 20 straight games for the Cleveland Browns. He's been their ace. Early in the game, the Bills got going. Thurman Thomas busted through for his 2nd touchdown run of the day, untouched.
That was absolutely perfect execution by Buffalo. And here is the other end of the spectrum. Poor execution, blocked by Shane Conlon. It appears up through the middle. Hagee picks it up. The Browns had 2 chances, that blocked field goal and then a field goal that was a bad snap. So they moved the ball, but they get no points.
A heartening first half for the Buffalo Bills. They've not won at Cleveland since 1974. They don't play every year, but the Bills, from a come-from-behind team, Trump, now are developing into a dominator.
Yeah, and in the first half of this game, they've had great field position. And actually, Cleveland's got to feel good that they're only down 14-0. They had their opportunities, but even though the numbers are about even, the field positions favored Buffalo. They moved the ball up and down the field, but they just made a couple of mistakes. Cleveland, on the other hand, they moved the ball, but, you know, they had a touchdown call back on pass interference by Ozzie Newsome, and that's pretty much the way the season is gone for the Cleveland Browns.
And you see the way the first half went for the Cleveland Browns. They were down close. Twice could have scored touchdowns. Kelly has thrown remarkably well for Buffalo in the wind, hitting 10 of 11 for 98 yards. And there's been nothing wrong with Pagel's throwing for the most part. He is 8 of 14 for 85 yards.
And there you see the Bills' possessions, too. The great field position. And Buffalo's not playing great.